Grade 5s and 6s, welcome to Unit 3 in Language Power, Parts of Speech. Today we're going to cover our first part of speech, which is nouns. We're going to cover a bunch of different topics about nouns, what nouns are, what they aren't, what we need to know in regards to them. So you're probably really familiar with the definition of a noun. A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. So if I talk about a person might be really specific, like Miss Pasma, or it might be more general, like teacher or woman. A place might be something like the beach. It might be something like Oakville. It might be something like North America or the world or here. A thing might be something specific like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It might be a DVD or a book, something general. Or an idea. Now, these three things are probably things that you're really familiar with talking about. Idea might be a new one. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at that for a second. An idea is a quality or an abstract. So what I mean by that, an abstract means that it's not something physical, something that you can see or touch or taste or hear or feel, but it's something that you still know about. So let me show you a list of a couple different abstracts or ideas or qualities. Happiness, strength, speed, joy, peace. The fruit of the spirit actually make great abstracts if you have to come up with some. Now think about this for a second. If I'm describing somebody and I say, he's really fast, that's the adjective, fast. But the quality that he has is speed. Speed is the thing. If someone is really strong, that's an adjective, but strength is the actual noun. If I have somebody who's really happy, that's an adjective, but happiness is the noun form of that, or the thing that they have, the idea or abstract. Remember our suffixes for changing words into nouns if you have them as adjective forms. Now, I was saying that before we take a look at our next topic, let me just point out to you something that grade 5s and 6s often will do wrong on quizzes or work that they're doing is to look at pronouns as nouns. And the reason is that pronouns are words that replace nouns. So they are really closely related, but pronouns themselves are not nouns. So here's a list of pronouns. We'll be looking at these pronouns later on in our unit. Subject pronouns like I, you, he, she, it, we, they, that's the subject of the verb, right? Or object pronouns coming after the verb, me, you, him, her, us, them. Or possessive pronouns belonging to me would be my, etc. But pronouns themselves are not nouns. So if I have to underline nouns in a sentence like I was talking to the boy is my only noun in that sentence because I is a pronoun. It's replacing a noun. It's replacing the idea of the speaker. So if I'm saying it, Miss Pasma is talking to the boy, but the pronoun itself is not a noun. So do not underline them as nouns. Okay, our next topic here is plural nouns. If we look at plural nouns, these are really basic rules here. We know how to make words plural, but we need to talk about, just review a few spelling rules that I'm sure you know about, but that are important for us. So first of all, if I have words, the basic way of making them plural is to add an S, right? So if I have girl, girls is plural. Top, tops is plural. If I have words that end with CH or SH or X or S, the way that I add an S to them is, of course, to add an ES. So church becomes churches, brush becomes brushes. If I've got words that end with Y, I change the Y to an I and add ES. So I get cities. Now the rule here for Y is actually that it has a consonant and then a Y. And the reason is, if you look at my next sheet here, if I've got a word like boy, I have a vowel and then a Y. And I don't change the Y to I and add ES here, I just add an S, so boys. The same with keys, or monkeys, or donkeys, or lots of other words that would end with vowel and then Y. My Y stays the same. Words that end with an F, a lot of those words, the F changes to a V. So knife becomes knives. There are some words where the F stays as an F, and chiefs is a good example of that. One interesting word actually is dwarf which can become dwarfs or dwarves. And here's a little interesting tidbit for you. It's Lord of the Rings and J.R.R. Tolkien who really popularized the spelling of dwarves with a V. So in the Lord of the Rings, it's dwarves, but in Disney, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs with an F. There are some words that totally change and have an irregular form. So child is children, goose is geese. There are lots of other examples that we could come up with. And there are some words that don't even change. So sheep stays sheep, deer stays deer. So my family had sheep. We had more than one sheep. I saw one deer grazing in the field and then a bunch more deer joined him. So I can have multiple sheep or deer, and those words don't even change. The reason that it's important for us to look at how to make words plural is because we need to differentiate when we make words possessive. So possessive means that something belongs to them. So our kind of long way of phrasing things, for example, if I have the hat of the boy or the hat belonging to the boy, I would say it's the boy's hat. Now, what do I do with my S's there? That is an apostrophe S, of course, right? This is review, the boy's hat. Or the bottle of the baby. Now, it's important to remember here that our spelling rules don't apply if we're adding apostrophe S's. So even though my word here ends with a Y, I have the baby, apostrophe S, bottle, and I do not change that to IES. What about if I have a word that already ends with an S here because it's plural? The names of the sisters. Oh, it's more than one sister. Well, if I have a word that's already plural and ends with an S, sisters, and then I add my apostrophe after it. So the sisters' names. So S apostrophe only if this word is plural. If I have a word that ends with S that is not plural, I do still add an apostrophe S after it. Here's an example, the books of the class. In this case, class is a singular word that just happens to end with an S. So I say the class's books. And I do add an apostrophe S here. People's names are another situation where I would do that. So if I have something that belongs to Jess, it would be Jess's. Now I know you're thinking to yourself, well, there's a really easy example where this is not the case, and that would be a word like Jesus, right? Where we have Jesus apostrophe. The reason is that the word Jesus has, or the name Jesus has two S sounds in it, and so if we add an apostrophe S, that would be a lot of S sounds in there. Jesus is, so we just say Jesus, and we add an apostrophe, but not an extra S after that. Okay, grade 5s, you're all set, and you can either turn off the video and go to your work, or you can continue to listen. You don't have to do appositive work, but appositives are something that you're gonna have to do next year, so you're welcome to stick around and listen with us. An appositive is a noun or a phrase that gives more information about a noun. The appositive is gonna directly follow the noun that it comes after. So if I have the sentence, John Knox, a Christian school, is in Oakville, I've italicized our appositive here to make it stand out more to you. John Knox, a Christian school, is in Oakville. A Christian school is telling me about what? It's telling me about the noun John Knox. So it needs to give me information about a noun. Now it can give me information about a pronoun too. We said pronouns replace nouns, so that's close enough. Notice the punctuation here. What's happening around the appositive? John Knox, comma, a Christian school, comma, is in Oakville. So one of the ways that I can find and identify appositives is that they come in between two commas. Another thing that's really helpful in identifying appositives is that they can be removed from the sentence and the sentence will still make sense and be grammatically correct. Here's my original sentence, and here's my sentence without the appositive. John Knox is in Oakville. Does the sentence make sense? Yes. Is it grammatically correct? Yes. I did, of course, remove my commas, but they're not needed if I don't have the appositive. So the appositive can be taken out of the sentence and the sentence still totally makes sense. Let's look at two more examples where the appositive is a little bit different. Here's one. David attends John Knox, a Christian school. What's my appositive in the sentence? A Christian school is giving me information about John Knox. The sentence is still pretty similar to the one before, right? Look at this. I've got a comma in front of it. That's an indicator. Now I don't have a comma after it because my appositive is coming right at the end of the sentence, so I have a period instead. If I got rid of this and I said, David attends John Knox, does that sentence make sense? Yes. Is it grammatically correct? Yes. So I can still take my appositive right out. Here's one more that I threw in because I thought you would enjoy it. Grade 6 is studying appositives, an easy topic to master. What's the appositive in the sentence? An easy topic to master. It's coming after a comma following the noun that it's telling me more about. If I take it out of my sentence and I say grade 6 is studying appositives, my sentence still totally makes sense. My sentence is grammatically correct. So my appositive can come near the beginning of my sentence, or it can come at the end of my sentence. My appositive never is the very first thing in my sentence because an appositive always needs to follow the noun that it's describing. Okay, so an appositive will never start a sentence. So as one more thing for us to look at, if I have to, one of the things you're gonna do in your grammar book is take a phrase that they give you and make it into an appositive. If I have to make this phrase, the cleanest room in the house, into an appositive, can I start my sentence with it and say the cleanest room in the house is the living room? That's not going to be an appositive. It doesn't come in between two commas. It doesn't give me more information about a noun that it follows. It's not something I can remove from the sentence and still have the sentence make sense. So what I need to figure out, first of all, is what am I going to say is the cleanest room in the house? Well, my example was living room. So I need to start with living room and have that right in front of what's going to become my appositive with a comma in between them. So the living room, comma, the cleanest room in the house, and I know I need to end my appositive with a comma as well. So the living room, comma, the cleanest room in the house, comma, is my favorite place, or is never used. Maybe that's why it's the cleanest room in the house. What if I want to end my sentence with my appositive instead? What is a sentence that I can have totally making sense without my appositive in it, but ending my sentence with it? We entertained our guests in the living room, comma, the cleanest room in the house. My sentence, we entertained our guests in the living room, makes total sense without the appositive, so I know that this must be an appositive that I can remove from the sentence and still make sense. Appositive, check. So, grade 6 is studying appositives, an easy topic to master. You guys can do this. Just take your time and be careful, especially when you're writing your own appositives. All right, that's it for the topic of nouns. So you guys are off to do your grammar work in your workbooks. Make sure that you ask me any questions if you've got them as you're working through, and feel free to come back and watch certain places in the video if you need to review any of the things. Good luck!